I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, a crash in Brampton involving a tractor trailer kills one woman and sends more than a dozen to hospital.
When officers arrived on scene, a female passenger in one of the vehicles was pronounced deceased.
Drivers and passengers trapped in their crumpled cars. Tonight, the truck driver is in custody facing numerous charges.
We didn't come with my family from Afghanistan to live in shelters.
They escaped the Taliban, arriving in Canada to begin new lives. But after a year waiting on paperwork, these Afghan refugees are being told to move into shelters and apply for social assistance.
That's incredible. You know, it's a dream come true. This is certainly a day I had circled on my calendar.
A warm welcome home. Nazem Kadri brings the Stanley Cup to London, Ontario. We're there for the history-making moment.
This is CBC Saturday News.
Thanks for joining us. A woman is dead, a man in custody after a crash in Brampton. Police say 10 vehicles stopped at a red light were hit by a tractor trailer, leaving a number of people trapped inside their cars. Dale Manukduk takes us through what happened next and the charges the truck driver now faces.
It all cleared up at around 11:30 this morning, but just after midnight, Peel police say that around 10 vehicles and a tractor trailer were involved in a collision on the northeast corner here at the intersection of Queen Street East and the Gore Road.
When officers arrived on scene, a female passenger in one of the vehicles was pronounced deceased. She is an adult, and two other, I believe, adult males were taken to a trauma center, and then numerous other occupants were taken to local hospitals.
Many of those people were trapped inside crumpled vehicles. According to paramedics, the woman was a passenger in one of the 10 cars. 15 others were injured. Peel police say that the tractor trailer was traveling westbound when it collided with the 10 cars that were stopped at a red light. The driver is now in custody and facing charges.
And he is on charge with numerous counts of dangerous driving caused bodily harm, as well as dangerous driving caused death.
Police have not identified the woman killed in this tragic collision. Given the number of cars involved, police are thankful that so many walked away with non-life-threatening injuries. It is unclear why the driver failed to stop and eventually collide with the other 10 vehicles. Whether speed, intoxication, or distracted driving were factors are all being investigated by Peel Police Major Collision Unit. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Brampton.
In other news tonight, several families who managed to escape the Taliban and flee to safety here in Canada say they're still living in limbo. They've been staying in hotels, unable to work or begin rebuilding their lives. Kirsana Sassi-Theron met with some who say they're frustrated with how long it's taking to move forward.
This hotel in Tobago has been home to some Afghan refugees who fled the Taliban. With rooms cleaned and meals provided, you might think there's nothing to complain about.
A hotel cannot be your home.
But for Mohammed Fahim Rahmani, it's hard to start a life here. This is the fourth hotel him, his sister, and his parents have lived in since arriving in Canada a year ago.
Mentally and physically, you're not relaxed to be in hotel for 1 year.
He's been waiting for his family's confirmation of permanent residence applications to be processed, and he's not the only one.
My case is in process. I don't know what's the problem, for how long more it will be in process.
Hikmatullah Barakzai is struggling too. He's been living in a hotel room with his wife and 2 kids for over 10 months.
We were almost 60 people in one flight. We came to Canada. Everyone now has their own family, their own home.
Canada committed to settle 40,000 Afghan refugees, but has welcomed less than half that number. Many are still waiting for paperwork to be processed. Now Rahmani's family has been told to leave and move into a shelter since their government assistance is only provided for up to a year.
We didn't come with my family from Afghanistan to live in shelters. My biggest fear is that if we move from hotel, unfortunately, nobody will help us after that.
It's shameful. The Canadian government has dropped the ball on the resettlement procedures. You have Afghan nationals coming under the special immigration program. So ostensibly, they should be arriving in Canada and the paperwork should be done fairly quickly.
In an email to CBC Toronto, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada says, "We are aware that some Afghans in Canada remain temporarily in hotels as we work to finalize their immigration application status. It is important to recognize that we are dealing with complex cases and working to resolve these issues." Rahmani hopes that with some more time and a real home, he can finally get closer to his Canadian dream.
We have to start our life.
Kirtan Asasi there on CBC News, Toronto.
At a time when blood donations are increasingly needed, one Ontario organization is trying to break a world record for the most blood donated in a single day. One volunteer with the Who is Hussein organization was donating blood for the very first time.
It's very humbling, I feel. They say every 2 months I'm allowed to donate blood, so I'm going to try every 2-3 months to come here and donate blood, yeah.
More than 60 countries around the world are participating in today's global blood drive. Canadian Blood Services said earlier this month their supply is at an all-time low, saying the country is facing a critical shortage of O-positive and O-negative blood. A long-running community barbecue is back this weekend in Jane and Finch, and it's all about community healing. Andrea Tabner started the barbecue 11 years ago after losing friends to gun violence and prison. Her hope is to promote peace and unity in the community that's historically struggled with violence. Today, community members, along with Toronto police officers, gathered to listen to music, eat some food, and have some fun while remembering those who are no longer here.
The importance of this barbecue is to bring healing to a community that has been plagued by gun violence and that has been traumatized, and coming together once a year, we get to see familiar faces that we haven't seen in so many years.
Tabner says she's remembering 3 siblings that were killed in a crash in Brampton just last weekend. She says they were known and loved in the Jane and Finch community. The teens died after the Honda Civic they were traveling in hit a tree and caught fire. Turning to our first look at the forecast now, we've got Rachel Mondestino here with us tonight. Hi, Rachel. You know, I hate to be a downer, but it's hard to believe this is like one of the last weekends we have this summer, which is crazy.
I know. I'm holding on dear hope that summer is going to continue, but it has been quite a gorgeous weekend. Hopefully you are having your dinner outside with the beautiful bright blue skies. We got up to 23 degrees, just a touch shy of our seasonal values. This evening we're looking quite warm as well, around that 20 degrees. So if you didn't take advantage of your Saturday, this is my advice to you. Take advantage of your Sunday. Like you said, our days of the summer are fleeting. August is fleeting, and it is going to be absolutely gorgeous around the Golden Horseshoe, a touch warmer away from the lake shores. If you are heading out to the cottage maybe, or if you're already there, another gorgeous day on Sunday, especially if you're around the Georgian Bay area, 28 for areas in Midland. But if you're staying local, plenty of events that you can get out and enjoy the last fleeting days of summer. The C&E continues on to Sunday. It will be feeling like 34 though around the city of Toronto, so you're definitely going to want to take extra precaution and have your water handy. Also similarly over in the Toronto Blue Jays, and as we get into our long range forecast, there is some rain on the way on the Monday.
Okay, we'll soak it all up now while we can. Thanks so much. We'll see you shortly.
Thank you.
Members of Ontario's COVID-19 Science Advisory Table say the group is being dissolved early next month, but Premier Ford says it will actually be moved to Public Health Ontario. Dr. Isaac Bogoch says the scientists will continue to provide advice on vaccines.
It's so important to frame this in. Listen, we know these are coming through the pipeline. There's these Omicron-specific vaccines that will very likely, we don't know for sure, but they'll very likely be approved and rolled out sometime in early September.
The group of independent experts played a key role in responding to the pandemic. The move to shut down the 35-member table and create a new structure under Public Health Ontario comes about 5 months after the provincial agency announced that it was assuming operation and oversight of it. Table co-chair Dr. Adelstein Brown resigned earlier this month. Well, it was a hero's welcome home for Nazem Kadri. The Stanley Cup winner brought the trophy to London, Ontario today, making history. Our Lorenda Redekop was there as family, friends, and fans gathered to cheer him on at a community parade that kicked off at a place close to his heart.
A historic moment, taking the Stanley Cup inside a mosque, likely for the first time, and hoisting it inside the prayer room. Then celebrating with hundreds of supporters outside.
Very privileged and honored to be the first ever Muslim to bring the Stanley Cup to the mosque. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Kadri is the first Muslim to ever play in the NHL.
There's a stereotype that not many, of my community play hockey, and I think that's the wrong stereotype.
Outspoken, standing up to his haters. He's faced anti-Islamic attacks online. He's also faced criticism for his on-ice play and multiple suspensions, especially when his teams have needed him most. But not during this Stanley Cup run.
For everyone that thought I was a liability in the playoffs, you can kiss my
Today's journey with the cup, in part, showing his critics.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of always been my motto, right? If you kind of stand in my corner, I want to be able to, make you proud, not disappoint.
The extra significance to visiting this mosque, the Afzal family worshipped here. A driver rammed into them on a sidewalk last June. 4 family members died, a 5th was injured, allegedly targeted in what police call a hate crime. For his father, visiting the mosque, an important message against Islamophobia.
It's a connection, and hopefully, are we going to be able to get rid of it? I doubt it, but can we help it? We certainly can.
Not afraid to share his faith background, meaningful for people here.
He chose to put that front and center, not just today, but throughout his career. He really took this mantle that he didn't really have to take to be a front and center role model for a lot of people.
His son is hoping for an autograph. He's already wearing the gear of the team Kadri will play for this season, but a fan from the start.
If he did it, why can't I? It's one person did it, that opens the door for everyone else. Maybe one day I'll be bringing the Stanley Cup back to London, hopefully.
A day that has his young fans hoping and the whole city celebrating a local hero and role model. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, London, Ontario.
A special day for Kadri and a special day for the Toronto Blue Jays. Today, the team is celebrating 30 years since winning the World Series for the first time. That was back in October 1992, and that brought some familiar faces to the ballpark.
Hey, Toronto, Dave Winfield wants noise.
Yeah, more than 15 members of the 92 World Series winning team were in attendance, including Joe Carter, Todd Stottlemyre, and Dave Winfield. Players were driven around the field pre-game, waving to fans before a trophy ceremony was held on the diamond. Well, as for the present-day Jays, that game with the LA Angels still ongoing at this hour. We're heading into a commercial break. We're back with you in just 3 minutes. Taking a look at some international headlines now, Pakistan is in crisis after massive flooding has displaced more than 30 million people. As Dominic Validas shows us, now the government's calling for urgent action as the number of dead continues to rise.
As well as the terrible loss of life, these floods have affected millions of people. Initial estimates suggest that nearly 220,000 homes have been destroyed and 500,000 more badly damaged. And the UN thinks at least 184,000 people have now been displaced to relief camps. In addition, the authorities are saying that close to 3,000 kilometres of roads have been destroyed and around 150 bridges damaged. Communications have also been badly affected, with cell phone networks and internet services down in many parts of the country. Indeed, Pakistan's telecoms authority has described the damage, the situation, as unprecedented. Large swathes of farmland have also perished. If we look at Sindh province, which is one of the worst hit areas and one where many farmers live hand to mouth from season to season, around 2 million acres of cultivated crops have been wiped out there alone after it was hit by 8 times the average rainfall for this time of year. So it is a major incident, one the authorities in Pakistan are describing as a humanitarian disaster of epic proportions. The government has declared a state of emergency in parts of the country. Thousands of people who live in areas under threat of flooding have now been told to pack up and leave. The military has been deployed to bolster relief efforts on the ground, but those efforts are being hampered by poor conditions and a general lack of resources. And the government is now calling on the international community for help. The United Nations has already allocated around $3 million in aid, but you get the sense that that is just a drop in the ocean of what is required, and why Pakistan, which was already in the grip of a vicious heat wave and drought, is asking for even more help from the international community. Dominic Velitis, CBC News, London.
Meanwhile, a Toronto organization is responding to the flooding with emergency kits that will help families access drinking water.
This is life and death to a lot of these kids because they're malnourished, they don't really have access to any form of clean drinking water except for these units, and this will prevent them from getting sick.
Volunteers with Global Medic were packing kits at their warehouse today. Each family emergency kit contains a water purification unit, as well as essential hygiene items and a solar light. They'll be shipped to Pakistan and given to families to help protect against waterborne illness. Global Medic's founder, Rahul Singh, says despite India-Pakistani relations, a group of 15 volunteers from Green S, an Indian humanitarian group, were overjoyed to be helping pack those kits today. To Florida next, where the SLS rocket is on the launch pad with the first flight of the Artemis generation fast approaching. If all goes according to plan, liftoff goes Monday. The goal is to lay the foundations for a long-term presence on the lunar surface and eventually Mars.
The important part of this is we're going for all humanity, and we're going with all humanity. The more nations and companies at the moon, the more we learn, exponentially increasing our knowledge base and capabilities while strengthening things right here on Earth.
The uncrewed launch marks the debut of the most powerful rocket ever. It is the first mission in NASA's Artemis lunar program, which is expected to land the agency's astronauts on the moon by its third mission in 2025. Now, this has been delayed for years, with the program running billions of dollars over budget. If you're downtown Toronto this weekend, you may find yourself standing next to Spider-Man or some stormtroopers, maybe even a couple of hobbits. That's because Fan Expo is back in all its glory, making its return after 2 years of being scaled back because of the pandemic. In the midst of it all is our Eli Glasner, or should I say, Mr. Fantastic.
All right, Shannon, for you, we are in the heart of the Fan Expo experience. It has been a few years since it has been this busy, this packed, this filled with fandom. That is definitely the case this weekend at the Metro Convention Center as Fan Expo has returned to full size. We are expecting 130,000 fans to arrive over the weekend. I have been here since the morning. I was on a subfloor waiting to travel back to the north building. There was an escalator. It was broken down. There were so many people waiting for it to be fixed. When they turned it back on and that train of people began moving, there was a cheer from the geeks and the nerds and the civilians. That's how busy, that is how packed it has been. So, what are they coming back for? I mean, it has been a tough couple of years. I think people want to have fun. Yes, people want to dress up. Maybe even as Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four. Costume Report, seeing a lot of Spider-Man. Spider-Man very popular this year, seeing some Jokers, but seeing a lot of Hellfire Club. I would say the biggest attraction at Fan Expo this year is the actors, especially the actor who plays Eddie, who are doing autograph signings and photo sessions for Stranger Things. There are hundreds lined up at the corner of this convention center waiting for just 30 seconds to pose, to shake a hand, to get an autograph. Just shows you the power of Stranger Things, shows you how popular that show was, and it also shows you how the kind of things that this show revolves around, things that, you know, you used to say, well, that's just for people in their basements, that's just for people on the fringe. I mean, You look at the crowd here, you see families, you see all ages. This, to me, seems as mainstream as ever, if not more so this year. So they're coming for Stranger Things. They're coming for the Hobbits. Elijah Wood and others are going to be on a panel. There are too many actors for Star Trek for me to mention, but certainly Fan Expo is back and in full force here in Toronto. Shannon?
A true fan. Thanks, Eli. Got to be one of my favorite weekends. Just downtown, you never know who you're going to bump into, Rachel.
A slew of characters
So
and a gorgeous
funny.
weekend to
Yes.
wear all those costumes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said make sure we enjoy tomorrow because rain's on the way.
Rain is on the way. If you are a fan of a long-lived summer, well, have a look at Monday. The feels like values are going to be flirting with 40 degrees for the city of Toronto, and the icons are giving it away. The thunderstorm risk is in effect. We do have this atmosphere, and it's holding a ton of moisture. So that moisture is going to be coming in as we head into our late Sunday. Those reds and oranges you see there, that's the high humidity, and it does stick around into Tuesday as well. But that warm front and that cold front is going to be triggering some thunderstorms. So across southern Ontario, including much of the Golden Horseshoe, there's a risk for scattered thunderstorms with heavy rainfall once again being the biggest threat. Let's time this out because it's a little bit up for debate. Who's going to see some of these scattered thunderstorms? You can see here we'll be dealing with that warm front Monday afternoon, and as we progress into the evening, we'll be calming down a little bit, and then we'll be seeing this cold front bringing in some scattered showers through our Tuesday once again. So accumulating a little bit more rainfall. It has been quite a wet August. August is actually the wettest month for the city of Toronto, so we'll maybe be at par or just above average as we close out the weekend and maybe even progress into the next week.
Okay, thanks so much, Rachel. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too.
So many events are back this summer, and one of Toronto's biggest kicked off in Scarborough today.
Festival is really about, bringing our Tamil culture to life again, especially after 2 years of the pandemic. We're back, and it's really a celebration about Tamil culture and who we are, and we just want to embrace it and celebrate it as big and bright as we can.
Yes, after 2 years off, Tamil Fest is back in person this weekend. Organizers say it's the largest Tamil event of its kind outside of the Indian subcontinent. They expect 250,000 people to attend. The festival stretches along Markham Road between McNichol and Passmore. Guests can see art and hear music, enjoy food and other displays celebrating history and cultural heritage. There's also traditional folk dancing. To another festival, this one downtown at Yonge Dundas Square, celebrating Trinidad and Tobago's 60th anniversary of independence. It shows the culture and impact of the Trinidad and Tobago community in Canada. There's music and food throughout Dundas Square, including Carnival Mass Band pop-ups. If you miss it tonight, don't worry, it's still running tomorrow from 3 to 8 o'clock. And that's our show for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow at 11.